Hello and welcome to Ricochet. I'm Ray Carr, and today's topic is going to be about prostitution. You may be wondering what teenagers might have to say about prostitution, and I'm wondering that myself too. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes after these messages to hear about prostitution. Hello and welcome back to Ricochet. Today we're talking about prostitution. It's a topic that has gotten a lot of attention in the newspapers, particularly in the city of Vancouver, and some people think that it's not very prevalent here in Victoria, but we're going to talk about it today and see what teenagers have to think about it. And we're really looking at prostitution as sex for money, I guess, is a definition of it. I don't know where we might want to start with that, but maybe a place we could look at it is whether it should be allowed to go on, or whether you have any familiarity with it, that you know that it's happening here in Victoria.
Well, I think right now it's definitely legal, but I don't know how much they're really enforcing that. Like, I know me, for one, I can walk downtown on a Saturday night and spot out quite a few prostitutes, but you can't really, like, there's no way that the police can really put their finger on them and arrest them because they have no proof or anything. So I don't know.
Well, when you say you can spot prostitutes, is that true of all of you, that you, if you were walking around in certain parts of the city, you would be able to identify who prostitutes were?
Well, there's usually the basic designated area that people expect to see prostitutes, and if there's a stereotypical view of prostitutes and the way people depict prostitutes, and it's true to a certain point. And if you, I don't know if you want to spend lots of time looking at people on street corners, but you can figure it out for yourself. And you're probably 85% right that that person's a prostitute.
It's the middle of December and they're wearing shorts. Well,
right.
Has a hint.
Yeah. Well, you have to be able to find them if you want one, so it has to be somewhat stereotypical.
Okay, so they have a look to them. You said they hang out, you know where to look for them. Where in Victoria would prostitutes be?
Well,
can't
a
really-
little advertising benefit
Okay.
here.
You think this is telling people too much if we said where it was?
Downtown would be the areas where people go late at night. Not many people go cruising Arbutus late at night. So the prostitutes, as far as I can imagine, they know where to go, and they know where people would go to look for that sort of thing.
You mean like guys know where to go? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what yeah. Just basically, you know that it's somewhere downtown. As for enforcing prostitution, the laws aren't exactly very harsh. You're not going to go to the electric chair for being a prostitute, and it's a lot of time and money trying to catch them. I mean, you have to have an undercover police person. You have to have an undercover vehicle, and when you do catch them, I mean, what are you going to do to them? Fine them? They'll go right back out there and earn the money to pay the fine on the streets?
I think the problem isn't like punishing them for what they've done. It's more helping them if they want to get away from it or something. You can help them by counseling or something like that. Because it's not like it's a big crime. It's not like it's hurting the average person in their home. It's not like robbery or something where the person is getting hurt by it.
You'd almost want the police not to be wasting their time on small-time crime like prostitution, rather than guarding the streets at night for...
Prostitution can be a focal point for a lot of more serious crimes,
true,
like
yeah.
drugs, of course.
I don't think it is in Victoria, really.
Well, I have no idea. There's a lot of things
Well,
in every city you don't know.
You said, Michelle, small-time crime like prostitution. I would imagine that there's a lot of people in Victoria that think that prostitution is a major kind of a crime, that it's a moral issue, they want to get rid of it, so on. But is that your view? Where do you stand as to whether it should exist or not? Do you have any ideas about that?
Well, it is more of a moral issue, and it's not really something that you could get rid of permanently, because it's always going to go on existing. And as for enforcing the laws against it, they're not really trying to stop it, because they know that they can't really. It's more of a control that they're trying to do, is just to control the prostitution, especially in something like in Vancouver, controlling it and making a red light district where they're controlling the areas where there'll be prostitutes.
As for it affecting people's lives, it does affect people who live in areas that are designated places where prostitutes go. In our city, there's not a lot of residences in the downtown area. I mean, there are apartments and things like that, but it's not a major residential area. In Vancouver, although on places like Davie Street, people live there, and prostitutes can attract a lot of noise, squealing tires, and they're out there all night, and it can result in a lot of shouting. And I've seen people on the news complaining about it. So
yeah, well, I don't think they can really go and like say, okay, we're going to take this block and we're going to turn it into a prostitute's fairground kind of thing, and all the people that like they can't do that because all the people that live there.
Yeah, or
Well, I think
businesses
so,
as well.
like, if they have a certain area, like for prostitution, then they're going to know, like businesses will know in beforehand, and people who are going to move there will know that that's the area, and they're not going to complain about it because they know that that's an area where prostitution is going to be.
What if you're already there?
Yeah.
Though if you're already
Well,
there, it's
that's
not
true,
fair.
yeah.
And shop owners who've been making an honest business for 20 years, and then all of a sudden the prostitutes move in because the police are protecting that area for their benefits. It's not fair for them.
There are places you can always pick. You always take rundown industrial areas,
It's
or
always going to affect somebody.
yeah,
You
of course it will.
can't really stick them out in my chosen.
No.
Okay. Well, when you say stick them someplace, it sounds like you're, am I right in saying that you're agreeing that prostitution is inevitable, that's here to stay, it's not something that anybody could get rid of?
Well, I think everyone always wants to make money however they can. Like, I don't know, people always want to make money whatever way they can. Everyone needs to make money, and prostitution,
survive,
yeah,
yeah.
prostitution's proved to be one way of making money.
I think that like the government and the police can try to control it, but I don't think they're ever going to end it. Like I don't think it'll ever be gone and disappeared. I think it will always be there. But I mean, they can try to control it and segregate it and try to make it smaller than it is. But they'll never succeed in ending it, I don't think.
Okay, so it's going to continue on. You're looking at some way of just managing it
Yeah,
somehow.
it's like pollution in a sense, because you can't, you have to accept it's there. Now you have to figure out the best way to deal with it.
Well, one idea I think is a good idea for dealing with it is to designate certain houses that can have actual management and an actual staff working there, because then the residential problem, if you can put a house or an area away from other residences in which no one's going to complain, I don't see what's wrong with it at all. If you segregate them to houses, I don't see who's going to complain, who's going to.
Well, you're saying move it off the streets and then put it into some kind of private residence.
It's probably safer and
Suppose it
cleaner.
was next door to your house. I mean, you said move the residents someplace where nobody would complain.
that's
Can
what
you
I
think
was-
of a place
Well,
where
yeah.
a residence could be that no one else would complain
Well, you
about
can
it?
put these places out of the city now, like they've done in Nevada. They have them out in the country, and if all the prostitutes are in one place, then it's going to be a lot easier to find them, and people will go out of town or just a few miles away from city center. And I'm sure places you can find when there aren't major, huge residences.
I'm sure, and some people may try to go there. Like, I mean, I'm sure people who would like to have it will go there, and then the ones who don't will avoid it because they know where the area is, and they don't have to be bothered with it.
And also, you're saying, like, how would you feel if that place was right next to your door? Well, how would you feel if the P&E was right next door? How would you feel if a 7-Eleven went right next door to you? Like, it's the same thing, really. It's a business. How would you feel if any large business moved right next door to your house, right?
That's true.
So you don't see it to be a problem because of potential criminal activity or the kind of people that would be attracted to prostitution?
Sure,
and
it's gonna
involved
be-
with it. It's just you just see it as a business, and you just be
All-
living
all
next door
kinds
to a
of people
business.
are
Is that-
attracted to
I worry about it if there were small children around.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why is that a problem with small children?
Because their minds are too undeveloped yet. It's,
People have this
you're putting an
concept.
opinion in their mind before they can really make their own decision, kind of thing.
Well, where's the dividing line then? You're not small children.
We're
but
grown
You're
he-men.
grown people now. Where is the dividing line then? How are you making a distinction between someone that it could be by and someone that it couldn't be by?
Keep it away from an elementary school, if you're going to put it. You don't put
I
it
wasn't
in
even
schools.
thinking along the lines of tainting minds or anything, but people who use, I don't know, but I would think people who use prostitutes, maybe they're not married or they might have unstable home lives or something like that. I wouldn't feel safe if I had kids showing them, exposing them to that sort of thing, because they might be attacked. I don't want to say that
Well, yeah,
people
but
like
sure,
Johns
there's,
are
like-
horrid people and oh dear.
Okay, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a common fact that all sorts of people are looking for the services of a prostitute. You got businessmen, married men, all sorts of people. So, of course, there's going to be the odd immoral type of person around there. But there's bound to be kids around it. I don't see-
Ethan, when you said it was a fact of what kind of people are
generally
involved with prostitutes,
accepted. It's
how
every
did-
type
where
of.
where
It's
did
every
you come up with that information?
the news and places like that. I mean, if you just use common sense, you can't go around saying that all people who use prostitutes have unstable lives. Of course, you didn't.
Well,
say
I
that.
think it's safe to say though that there's going to be more sort of shaky people going into a prostitute house than there are going to be going into a knitting shop or something. It's like,
Well, one thing I know that when we're talking about things that are safe to say, we come to the point where it's safe to say that we have to take a short break, and we're going to have to go to hear some messages, and we'll be right back after these messages to talk a little bit more about prostitution. Hi, welcome back to Ricochet. We're talking about prostitution, and we ended on a point of looking at some facts here, and I guess one of the things that I'm interested in is the viewpoints that you have about prostitution, but also you seem to be pretty accepting of the idea of prostitution and it's inevitable, so on. But do you think that your views are similar or identical to your parents' views about prostitution? Would your parents say the same kinds of things that you're saying about it?
As in it's inevitable and it's a
It's
part of our
inevitable,
lives.
and, yeah.
I don't see how someone could deny that. It seems to. It's
So
happening.
you're kind of warning your parents that they better have the same view that you do. Is that it? Or
No, I'd expect them to.
for so long, and you know, I think that our parents have known about it, and their parents have known about it.
Bible knew about
So
it.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So I think that it's not. I think it's inevitable.
As for whether,
Yeah.
Leah, how about
Well,
for
I
you?
think it's accepted by our parents just as it was by our grandparents and our generation too. I mean, it's just going on and on and on, and there's nothing we can really do to stop it. It's going to continue, and what we're facing now is controlling it and whether or not it affects us personally in our, you know, in our situation, in our age group, and how it affects us personally.
Okay. Karen, for you?
Well, I think that it's a lot more open, like people's ideas about it than it used to be, and people talk about it a lot more. It's like in the news and stuff, and it wasn't a long time ago. So it's a lot different now. For
people used to avoid it and pretend it wasn't there, and now more and more people are talking about it. I guess it's just a sign of the times. It's like that with a lot of touchy subjects that
But
we've talked about on
okay.
the show before.
I think if you think about it, like say you were a prostitute or something, and someone all of a sudden comes along and says, no, you can't do this anymore, and that's the way you've been making money for the last so many years or whatever, like, what are you going to do, right? It's like, instead of saying that, no, you can't do this anymore, they should find out a way that they can do it that's not harming anybody else, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, put them in the houses. If you get them in some type of an enclosed area, you can regulate it. You can make sure it's clean. You can try and at least enforce the type of people who go in and out of it and work there. I mean, it'll be more of a deterrent to younger prostitutes, I think, because if they have an age limit on the workers who work there and an age limit on the people who come in there and they ask for ID and things, it could make it, a lot of people who think prostitution is really terrible right now, doing this could eliminate some of the bad points of prostitution that we have now, and it could make them feel a
Well, I
lot
know
better.
you like that idea of some kind of control in houses of some sort, but one of the things you mentioned, the deterrent to the younger prostitutes, that as you're observing the different areas in Victoria where you've seen people that you think are prostitutes, what would you say the ages are of the people that you're looking at that are on the streets?
It's hard
20.
to tell.
It really
25.
varies. It really varies.
Well, I just say
You
they're
can't even
30 to
tell the
50
ages
years
until-
old,
20.
or
I would
in
say
their 20s,
anywhere
or-
from early teens to late 30s. I mean,
Never seen
I
a
don't
young
really
teen.
know.
I've never seen someone who looked like a young
you can't
teen.
tell. They've
You
got so much
can.
makeup on.
Makeup.
Everything.
You
can
can.
tell.
You can.
Well, I mean, I was on the TV a few days ago. They had a thing on Vancouver, like as we were talking about before, Vancouver prostitutes, and they were saying that as young as 12, 13, 14 were on the streets, and they were trying to control it. And I don't think there is really at a certain age group, like 18 to 25. I think it goes as young as that.
I think if some guy goes out and he picks up a 12-year-old prostitute, that he's got some serious
That's
mental
disgusting,
problems.
yeah.
Well, in Vancouver, the mayor of Vancouver's idea of getting rid of the problem in Vancouver was to make an amendment to the criminal code and get prostitution right out of there. And I don't know if that's a good
Does
idea.
anyone ask the prostitutes what they think?
Yeah, they have. And prostitutes say, we're just going to go where the business is, and there's really not much you're going to do. It's my life. I'm making money. I have to. Maybe they have kids. Maybe they have a drug habit that they have to
Maybe they have
support.
kids.
For some people, it's the only way of life. So if that was taken away, then they don't have any alternative. But
The-
to
the
go
longer
move
you-
somewhere else
Counseling
and
is the
find if
best.
they can do it.
Maybe
Yeah,
the longer
counseling
you're a
is the best idea.
prostitute, the deeper
Job,
the hole.
career change.
Oh, it's just like, yeah, if you lose
career
a,
change.
Yeah, like if you lose a job, like if they lost their job because they were moved or so business was dying or something. If a person was put in that position, they would probably continue somewhere else where it was prosperous, or move up, or move somewhere else so that they could continue.
Can't put it on a
Or
resume.
do you accept the idea that this is like you could see this as a job like any other job that anybody else has, and that it's a career and people have...
It's not really.
Well, I
what do you
don't
think,
look at
you know?
it that way, but there are people who do. Some prostitutes do look at it as a respectful type of job opportunity. They don't look at it as something to look down on. I mean, they just do it because that's the way they live. That's
But I
their living.
don't think many people really go to school going, yeah, that's going to be so great when I get out of school and I'm a prostitute. And like, I don't think anybody really
a lot of
plans.
people fall into that.
They fall
but
into it,
when
but I
they're
don't
in
think
that
it's...
situation, they don't look at it as a disrespectable, degrading type of thing. I mean, sure, some people do, but some of the prostitutes don't look at it that way.
They don't tell you they do anyway. I'm sure. I guess if you do it, you can convince yourself that it's not a terrible and
I'm sure if you gave them a
thing.
choice of being a prostitute or having a better job,
that pays the same.
that pays
the same, right? Because you can make a lot of money being a high-class call girl or a prostitute in an organized situation.
So prostitution can have an element of danger associated with it, too. You can be hurt or physically hurt or have different kinds of diseases, so on that could come up. But when you're talking, so it's a high-risk
What about a
type of
massage
job,
parlor
you know?
worker as well? I mean, the same thing could happen, or I
Well,
mean,
that's going to be another topic at a later time, massage parlors. Now we're talking about prostitution.
there's a lot of jobs in which you can come into physical contact with someone. A barber is a good example, a manicurist, anyone who works at a beauty shop. And
Yeah, but you're not getting
It's
quite
not the
as
same
close.
stuff.
Well, I'm looking at the idea of a job, and you mentioned like maybe some people are choosing this. Other people, if they could get the same amount of money, they would rather do something else than be a prostitute.
I think in a
But
way
what about
it's-
younger people, like teenagers? Is this really a choice that they're making to become prostitutes?
It could be something they've fallen into, maybe a bad upbringing or whatnot.
But I don't think that, like, you know, how they have these choices programs and all these programs to get kids, you know, to plan ahead and take certain courses to get out of the clue. I don't think that they're going to turn to that, like, as their goal. And some may. I mean, some may be, you know, leaving school early to do that, like not even finishing.
could be
but-
driven into hard financial times, and they'll try it once, and I guess it'll be bearable, and they'll make a good sum of money, and then they'll keep doing it. And it's my opinion, the longer you're a prostitute, the deeper the hole, because the less chance you're going to have of
What about when you're 40?
being something else.
What about when you're 45 and no one wants you as a prostitute anymore? Then what do you do?
Go and work
You
at
have enough money,
McDonald's.
so
You
you don't have to work
look
anymore.
at career. You have to have career change. I haven't seen choices in the choices system that prostitution is one of the alternatives. that
You
people
are
can
a
select.
prime example.
It's
of a
not in there
prostitute.
as one of the
No,
things
exactly.
in there. Well, you're kind of laughing about some of
Well,
this.
I
I
think
guess it's
that,
kind of
you
funny,
know, there
but
are also two different aspects. Because, like, in our society today, there's a lot of, like, yuppies, as they put it. Like, a lot of people who are upwardly mobile, and they're ready to succeed in corporate business and etc. But, I mean, some people who cannot, like, it may also be a way of failing. Like, if they failed at school, or if they have failed in their lives, like with their parents or with friends or family or whatever, they may turn to that as a way to get out of it and as
be
a way
successful in that
exactly.
area.
Well, I can't think of a job if you have no educational,
No experience.
post-secondary
That's about the best thing to do.
education, no training in any high-paying job. Can somebody tell me a job that pays is the same amount
make
as
that kind of
prostitutes and make that
salary,
kind of money?
exactly.
It's always going to be something illegal if you think about it.
so it's
and
in
maybe
career
some-
terms
maybe-
we call that good entry level.
Maybe prostitution is a little
opportunities.
less dangerous than some of the illegal things that can make you big money. I guess maybe it's safer to be a prostitute than
Than
be
a
a
drug
cocaine
dealer or
dealer.
Okay,
We're-
so it
we're
seems
really
like a
looking-
legitimate alternative to some people. Then is that
We
what
have
you're
to
saying?
realize we're not prostitutes. We aren't closely associated with
We have no
anybody who
idea.
is. And we're actually living in ivory towers and expressing these opinions that's mostly garnered from watching television, movies, news programs, newspapers, and watching all the Shame the Johns campaigns, that sort of thing. We don't know what it's like to be in those sort of situations.
We need a guest prostitute.
But I think
Okay,
that
that was
there's some more programs now that are showing what it's really like. Like, there's been movies that I've seen. I saw a movie the other day that was showing it on the streets and what it's really like, and people trying to change it, because there are people who are they're not really enjoying themselves doing it, but that's all they've got. I don't think it's all, you know.
But we're really
well,
looking
we've
at
got
this-
to stop right now and go to another couple of messages, and we'll be back to sum up about prostitution. Okay, welcome back to Ricochet. We're talking about prostitution, and we're coming to basically the end of our time, so we really want to try to get in everything that we want to say about it. And one of the topics that hasn't really come up yet is the idea of the other side of prostitution. We've been pretty much talking about it from the side of the prostitute. What about from the side of the person who's using the prostitute, and looking at that? Is there some control of that, or should there be some control? Should we do something about that?
I don't think so.
Just leave it alone, Troy? Is that?
Well, I think if there's someone out there selling something, you can't really blame somebody for buying, if you know what I mean. It's like if there's somebody with a little hot dog stand and they don't have a license, someone else goes up and buys a hot dog from them or something. That's not really like, I don't know. I don't think we should really burn the guys who are using the prostitutes. I think it's up to the people to control the prostitutes.
Do you think that's a guy's viewpoint, that nothing should happen to guys? I mean, what about the Shame the Johns approach that's been used in Vancouver?
Well,
what about...
from the point of view of someone who wants to abolish prostitution, you can put the blame on the people who are using the prostitutes. If no one wanted to buy sex, there wouldn't be any prostitutes, obviously.
Yeah, we can say that about anything.
Yeah, but the people who buy sex are going to continue buying sex if there are prostitutes or not. And if there aren't any prostitutes available, they may turn to another directions.
Children?
Rape or something.
Children molesting, rape. I mean, that
True.
can happen too.
Yeah.
It could be a deterrent.
I mean, I'm not saying you should make prostitution illegal, but
It'd probably be worse of a problem if you get rid of it than if you just keep it going at the rate it is and try to control it maybe a little bit.
So that somehow, by having prostitutes available and allowing men, let's say, who are the predominant users of prostitutes, this gives them an outlet of some kind and decreases the potential for them to do something harmful or hurtful to younger children or somebody else.
Well, rape, absolutely.
Getting at?
I think so too.
That's like
You don't
saying
think so, or no?
that if you don't get it once a week, you turn into a real monster. I'm not sure I would believe that.
There's some pretty sick
Okay.
people out there, though, who would
Who
resort
keep
to
their
rape.
tempers in control for that reason?
Well, we're really kind of out of time right now, so we have to end our talk about prostitution and really say goodbye at this point, and this is about it. So we'll see you next week on Ricochet. I'm Ray Carr. Thanks for watching.